Bill Fung, your local Denver realtor, serving the Southeast Denver area, Aurora, Centennial, Foxfield, parts of Highlands Ranch, Parker, parts of Castle Rock, and always a little bit more. Today we're talking with Nick May, who, gosh, I've known for 25 years, and he has a lot of information. We do have a 3-part series here. So one part that we have already talked about is exteriors of home painting, and then we have this today. We're going to talk about interior painting, and then there's a part 3. I'm just going Nick.
Great, thanks Bill, thanks for having me again. My name's Nick May. I own Walls by Design. We've been in business for 26 years. We primarily stick with helping homeowners. We do interior, exterior, and some cabinet painting. I started the business with one painter, and we've been doing it ever since. And like you said, it's been 26 years, and we just keep doing it.
Yeah. So the very first question that I'm going to ask Nick is, we've talked about the exterior, we're going to talk about the interior. Do you have a preference as to what type of paintings that you enjoy, or that you find is a challenge, or that requires more, say, a consultation with a homeowner when you're going through it?
Gosh, that's a tough question. Most people, that come, there's 2 different types of buyers, right?
Right.
You've got the buyer that's getting ready to sell the house.
Seller, yeah.
And they are trying to get out of that house,
Right.
spending the least amount of money.
Right.
And so they literally just want to take care of the urgent stuff. Sometimes when we're dealing, and I walked a house the other day, upper end home, probably 1.2 million, something like that. And her concern was, I've touched up my walls, but now I can see them.
Mm-hmm.
And my recommend, I think I come with a different perspective than a real estate agent would. But I wanted to focus her energy and effort on the main areas. When you walk in the house, what's the overall feel? Is it dark or is it light and bright? And so I wanted to focus on maybe those are the walls that we pay the closest attention to. If they've got outdated colors, she had what I would call HC44, HC47, dark earth tones that we were doing back in the early 90s. Still in her master bedroom and bath. And I said, we definitely have to paint those rooms and get them lighter. White ceilings help. But lighter and brighter. The trend right now, we talk a little about trends on exteriors, but trends right now are white.
Okay.
They were gray for a while. We did 50 shades of gray. We did everything. My house is still all gray. But right now it's white. And so one of the things that I had to talk to her about is that if we're going to go white over that medium earth tone, we're going to need 3 coats. I don't care what vendor, what manufacturer you make. There's not a white right now that will cover. And I know everyone's like, oh, it's 1 coat. No, it's not. It's not. It doesn't work.
Right.
So we're typically doing 3 coats to cover that middle, and especially if it's a dark blue like you've got over here, we're doing 3 coats to go to a true white.
Right.
And so the advice I gave her is we could go with a light color that has a little bit more body in the color, something that's going to have more hide. Or what was the other? So it was, or just know that we've got to do 3 coats.
Right.
And then she tested my theory, and she sent me pictures, and she's like, "This is 2 coats, Nick. Do you think we need 3?" I said, "Of course you do. It's not full." Of course she was using a little 3-inch roller. And how well that worked, but it was obvious to me that we were going to need to go 3 coats.
So my question is, because of the color palettes in the world, when you say white, are you meaning like pure white? Because then somebody goes, there's vanilla white, there's French white, there's cream white. Are you talking
all of those things that if you step back and you're like, that's white.
Okay.
But if you see something that looks light gray, that's not white.
Okay.
You know, that sometimes the color experts will say that that's a neutral white, but that's a light gray to me.
Okay.
You know, but all the ones that are like, you know, and they will all have very slight variations, like the yellow undertones or the gray undertones or the blue undertones. But all those ones that you step back and you're like, that's white, that's going to take to go over a dark color. You're going to need 3 coats.
And so another one, I think probably I'll throw more questions and scenarios about what I've gotten, then I'll throw them to you,
Sure.
which will probably be answering the same things. So I have my wall of fame. This is the cellar.
Mm-hmm.
I've got 5,000 pictures on there,
Sure.
hanging and everything. Do you think I should take them off and get it painted? And do I need really do any prep, or can I just kind of like slosh over the whole wall?
Well, you probably don't want to, I mean, if they're moving out and this gets into staging and all of that, I know that from talking to people that you want to remove all the personal pictures, but you still want pictures on the wall. So you still want things. And so when we get that wall looking the way we want, you know, to patch those holes is fairly easy. But then you're probably, if you don't have that original paint, every paint can, people don't understand this, I don't know why. Every paint can that's mixed is a different color.
Right.
Like, I don't care, it still says 672 and 672, but it's individually mixed.
Mm-hmm.
And so the only way, when we do a house that has, let's say, 12 gallons, we do what's called boxing. And it's putting all of the paint together, mixing it all up, and then pouring it back off into the buckets, so that no matter where I am in the project, I do have a consistent color. Now, if you have leftover of that, then you can touch up that area. But what happens is people don't store it properly, they've lost it, whatever, they go buy another gallon, and then they got touch up. Now, how we would do touch up is if you have it, and this was the house I was just talking about, that have the touch ups everywhere. Most people, they grab a paintbrush and they dip it in the bucket and they go, and you get a softball size touch up.
Right.
When the touch up is really only that big.
Yeah.
So we would take an artist brush and just dab it and keep it as small as possible. And a lot of times we can then get by with a color that's not quite exactly, but it's not going to stand out like a big splotch.
Right.
I don't know if I just answered your question or just totally took you in a different direction, but
No, that's fine. I mean, we experienced a lot of things. I mean, nowadays with the way TVs are, everybody has TV mounts
sure.
and stuff like that. You know, and again, I get the question like, well, should I take the mount off and then go ahead and fix the holes in there? My answer is yes, but my cringe thought is it going to look really funky when you go ahead and try to fix those holes? Because some of those holes are pretty big with the bolts and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
And my preference was you get a handyman, or if that one wall needs to be painted because of other things, to actually have a painter come through. So I'm kind of curious, do you do any kind of patchwork on walls and stuff before? Mm-hmm. Not necessarily if it has, you know, the TV mount and stuff like that, but let's just say there is a section that actually would need to be removed or something. Do you do anything like that? Replace parts of the wall, drywall and stuff?
Well, here in Colorado, as you know, everything, unlike your commercial walls here in your office, everything has texture.
Right.
So everyone's either orange peel, knockdown, some kind of texture. And so we have drywall guys that will come in and
Okay.
fix anything bigger. We say anything bigger than a dime.
Okay.
Anything smaller than a dime, we're typically going to patch that with some caulk and it will blend in.
Okay.
But when you start getting into bolts and those kinds of things, then we're most likely talking about doing a drywall repair. House I went to this week, getting ready to paint on Monday, she's showing me areas where they've pulled off trim. So I think it was like a trail rail or something. And what ends up happening when people do that, we run into this all the time, you have that caulk line.
Mm-hmm.
You know, now that has ruined our texture. Now, if we all had smooth walls, that is actually easier to repair than what we have with the texture, but we would have to bring somebody in to smooth out, skim that area, and retexture that spot. And I always tell people, if that's what you do, we will be able to see it.
Okay.
Okay. So there's two different ways, and again, it comes back down to budget. What's the expectation? If you're doing a patch, you will see it. There's too many factors with texture. There's no drywall guy or gal that's going to be able to fix your spot perfectly. The only way to fix it so it completely is invisible is go edge to edge.
Mm-hmm.
Skim the whole thing. Ceilings are notorious for that. We go into kitchens. They've taken down that old light box, right?
Yeah.
And in order to fix that, or they could have just been can lights, whatever. But in order to make that go away 100%, we got to go edge to edge, skim it out, and retexture it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how we fix it the right way, the true way. Otherwise, we're just doing a patch.
Right.
And you will see it. I never guarantee that that's going to go. Now, we've gotten pretty lucky and we can get it pretty close. And it depends on where the spot is. If it's in the middle, like right in front of your face, and it's in that family room, you turn the corner and it's right there, man, we should probably skim that wall. But if it's down here, it's going to be right behind where you got another chair. Hey, let's just patch that.
Right.
So we'll talk
Sure.
through those kinds of things.
Okay. Well, let's do this because you had mentioned, and I was going to ask, ceilings.
Yeah.
The favorite one that everybody loves, at least in the 70s, but no longer, is the popcorn ceiling.
Correct.
I gather you can take care of that in the sense of getting rid of it completely, or if some unknown reason somebody still loves their popcorn ceiling.
Yeah. This is one of the topics real estate agents always love to bring up, the popcorn ceilings, because they see them. So I can remember, I'm going to go back to when you and I first met, and I was literally on the job, right?
Yeah.
I remember being off Bedford Ranch Road on a project. It was like my very first time ever. We used to do it. We don't do it anymore.
Okay.
I would refer you to a drywall company that's going to come in. And here's why I don't do it. People don't like it, right? People want it changed out. Then I go out and I spend a couple hours figuring out the estimate. I talk to them about it's going to be messy. I talk about we got to clear out all this stuff. They don't ever do it.
Yeah.
People, I can't even tell you the last time when I was doing it, the people will go, oh yeah, let's do that. So the only times it really works is when you've bought the house. Like,
Yeah.
let's do it. The house is empty because it's messy.
Yeah.
And the guys that do it on a regular basis are going to be way cleaner and way faster. So they have tools now. They're like these sanders on poles
Mm-hmm.
that you go up and it literally sands and vacuums it up.
Yeah.
I don't have that.
Right.
And so that's the kind of guy that you want. And then once it's textured, then I can paint it. So in my house in Highlands Ranch, I believe somebody scraped ceilings. And what you have to do in order to make it right is we scrape the ceilings, you skim the ceiling twice,
Oh, okay.
edge to edge. If you only do it once, this gets into a little bit outside of paint, but you have different levels of drywall. Level 1, level 2, level 5 is the top. And I got that backwards, level 1. Now, anyways, there's 1 to 5, one's, completely smooth, and the technical on that is there's no patches, you've skimmed it from edge to edge, and that's if you're gonna do smooth. Now, I don't remember where they stop in order to do texture, but you've got the tape joints,
Mm-hmm.
and so if you just scrape it off, you're gonna have just tape.
Right.
And a little bit of drywall on that. And so we need to skim that twice.
Sure.
I think they didn't do it twice at my house because I can see where the joints are.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you do it properly, that all goes away. But to answer your question, we don't do it anymore. It's a lot. It's very expensive. It's very messy.
Okay.
Especially if you don't use one of those guys that has the vacuum
Yeah.
system.
That's one of the latest things, and when I say latest, that could mean in the last 10 years, not just like,
Maybe 5. I've only
Yeah.
seen them really in the last 5.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a Festool product that's very expensive.
Okay. So let's go through this one now, and it would be the same kind of question as we had on the exterior. For a owner of a property, and they want to get their home painted, what would you suggest as interior colors that are popular now? Because outside, of course, you had said the preference would be to have lighter colors because of our sun here and all that type of stuff. And you had to, repaint some basically newer homes in less than 3 years because of our sun. But on the interior side, what are really kind of popular colors right now that you would suggest to a homeowner versus a seller?
So a homeowner, again, we're going to send out an interior designer.
Okay.
And colors need to go with what you have in the house. Once the house is decorated, it's very easy to pick, colors that go, with your items in the house. The trend right now is white, like we've talked about. It's, a lot of true white and not very much color at all. Just simple. We are seeing a little bit more of the beiges, light beiges coming in. But it's, like we talked about in the 90s, we had all the earth tones, the greens, the reds, the browns, like just a lot of it. And we're really the opposite of any of that. And so it really just comes down to preference. We just did a house in Sterling Ranch with that, very close to that blue that you have on that wall. It was in their master, 3 walls, and then in their eating nook. Great wide white trim, white trimmer on the windows, really made that pop. It was fantastic. I can't wait to get back and take some pictures of that one.
Okay.
But we are seeing the trend right now is mostly one color throughout the house.
Okay.
We're not seeing a ton of accent walls right now.
Okay.
If they are, it's very few. I remember back in the day, oh my gosh, 12, 14 colors throughout these houses. Right. And I would much rather do one color throughout.
Yeah.
But I think we're probably pretty close. I'm pretty good at guessing some of the trends. I'm guessing we're going to probably start seeing a little bit more color because people kind of just go from one end to the other all of the time. Right. It's like hair trends go from long to short, and we have a tendency to go from dark to light and then it just flip-flops, right? Thank God in my business I want the trends to change. I would love it if they changed faster, but they don't. Right. But I believe that we're probably going to be going towards a little bit more color in houses in the next couple of years. With a little bit more color variation because it's been a little bit sterile. And so people, it's kind of like they're cleansing the palette right now. Sure. And then we'll start to get into this, some colors, but I don't know what those are yet. Okay, so let's just flip back to the homeowner who is selling their house. Yes. And there's all the little things which I think you've already answered, but when I go through, sometimes they will see cracks where I don't know why, because of age or is done improperly, the drywall, where they see the cracks and things like that, and they, homeowners like, can I just take a brush to it and just kind of go down the line, those type of things. Now, obviously, in different places, I'll have see cracks in the corner area, which may require a few more things than then painting, but let's just say again it was something like if there's drywall situation, are those things really pretty easy for you to take care of it, or is it like really too insignificant in the sense of it would cost the homeowner more to have you, a professional painter that can do everything, versus like a handyman to do things like that? Yeah, so again, we've got lots of different factors here. You've got different types of cracks. Yesterday I was looking at a crack that was on a corner bead. There, no inspectors would be worried about that. That's merely cosmetic. But if you've got a crack across the ceiling or coming off of a corner, that's going to raise a red flag of it being a structural issue. Right. So we want to avoid those as much as possible. Okay. So in those situations, I'm always going to say, caulking that crack and painting is not the solution. Because otherwise, your inspector is going to see that, right, and then they're going to, have you fix it anyways, or go into deeper, like what's the foundation, what's going on with that. And so I always want to take care of any of those things that could potentially raise red flags. And so we want to get that crack fixed as good as possible. Now, if it's on a high ceiling, we don't necessarily have to skim the whole ceiling because it's far away. We're going to have flat paint up there, so we're not going to be able to see, but it's definitely, let's skim it, let's put tape on it, let's let's fix that problem
Sure.
correctly. It may still come back especially if it's a structural thing and things are
Right.
moving. But if we're trying to sell the house, let's take care of those,
Okay.
100%. Some other things we can deal with, caulk and that's okay. But when it comes to things that could raise red flags about structure,
Mhm.
we got to fix that right.
Okay. Let's look at, quote, the typical average house we sort of talked about, between 2,000 to 2,400 square feet. That we'll exclude the basement. Let's just say that it's even
Sure.
on that. How long would it take to, if the house is empty, for your crew to go
Sure.
ahead and get it what we would call show ready, in the sense of for showings and everything like that? Again, just a real basic in that sense. And then approximately what might that cost? And when I say average of 2,000, 2,400, then typically it's probably about a 3 or 4 bedroom. You have a living room, kitchen, maybe a dining room, but depending on the age of the home, I understand
Sure.
that. And probably 2 baths and maybe a half bath or something like that.
Okay.
Just to kind of give you a little bit of a parameter
Okay.
on that.
So I'll answer your question, but I'm probably going to change the scenario just a little bit, just
Okay.
because I have numbers in my head
Sure.
of actual houses.
Okay.
So recently we just painted a house downtown, a little bungalow in Denver. The square footage was about 1,200 square feet. We wanted wall, ceiling, and trim. Her budget was $5,000.
Okay.
For almost the whole entire thing, we optioned out a few things. We talked about her budget beforehand. We were on a very tight time frame. She had just closed. She wanted to move in within 2 weeks, and she had some other stuff to do. We were able to do that project for $5,600, and everything but the closets.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't add the closets. Didn't have super high ceilings. Just I think they were 9 foot on the first floor, a typical bungalow, and then they had kind of a converted loft into a bedroom upstairs, and 2 bedrooms. Now we have another house that's fresh in my mind. That was in Parker, it was 4,500 square feet, main floor and upstairs, wall, ceiling, and trim. And these are empty houses, by the way.
Yes.
Get into furniture, it's a whole nother story. Again, tight turnaround, closed down the house, wanted to move in just a couple of weeks, had other stuff going on, hardwood floors. I think that project ended up being, we had some ads. We were around 15,000
Okay.
on that project. Now flip that, put furniture into it, it's going to be more expensive.
Right.
We're working around things. Anytime you add furniture into the scenario and we have to brush and roll, you're immediately going to go up, I don't know, anywhere from 20 to 40%.
Okay.
So typically, and you didn't ask me this question, but I'm going to ask the question for you.
Okay.
How important is it to paint the house before we put it on the market?
That was going to be one of my questions.
Okay, great,
Go for it.
great. I'm going to go for it. And I've got a story for you. Friends of my parents. I was down visiting my parents in Florida, and they, a family that had a condo in the Ozarks, 4,000 square foot condo, big condo.
Yes, seriously.
Right? Didn't want to paint the condo. I heard and she's a colorful lady, and she likes color, and so it was colorful. So I can only imagine there was like 6 or 8 colors throughout the house. And I said, well, and it hadn't sold. And I said, you need to paint the house, and you need to just get a neutral color palette, because nobody's going to buy it. Oh, they can paint it whatever color they want, right? You've heard this before.
Yeah.
People cannot envision that.
Right.
People want to see. They want to see it move in ready.
Yeah.
They want that. And the other thing the other kind of scenario I tell people is, I remember going through model homes.
Mm-hmm.
You go through the model homes of the nice houses, those houses are decorated.
Right.
And they're painted.
Right.
And they look phenomenal.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
And then you sign on the dotted line, and then your house is getting close to being ready, and you go walk through your white vanilla nothing,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh, the umph is gone.
Yeah.
Right? Well, it can be the same way if there's bad colors throughout the house that haven't been painted in 20 years. You've got the brown, like I was just talking about. We want to kind of sterilize. We want to kind of whitewash it and appeal. I've learned this from realtors. You want to appeal to the masses. You want
Yes.
to have the most people, and most people don't want a red wall.
Right.
You may love the red wall,
Right.
right? But most people are gonna be like, oh, I gotta paint that right away.
Yeah.
You don't want to present problems.
Right.
And so the best thing to do is to, and you don't have to do every room,
Right.
right? But let's make sure that when you walk in that house, it's light and bright.
Yeah.
Let's focus on that. Make sure the kitchen looks phenomenal. We could get into talking about cabinet painting and all that, but that's what my recommendation is. Let's set a budget. Let's say, hey, we need to neutralize and we need to clean this so that people walk in and they go, wow, I can see myself. I may have to paint some
Sure.
rooms, not exactly the color. I could live with this for a little
Right.
bit.
Yeah. Good. Well, let's wrap this up because we also want to, at a later date, go ahead and talk about kind of like a mishmash of stuff. So again, Nick May, I'll have him go ahead and give you his phone number, and also, of course, we're going to put his contact information below. And again, Bill Fung, your local Denver realtor. Thanks for listening in, and we'll be seeing you again. Take care now. Bye.